I'm Lauren with IndoorGardening.com, and today we're going to talk about how to set up a propagation box. Propagation is when you take one plant and turn it into multiple plants. This can be done a variety of different ways, and it definitely depends on the specific type of plant that you are trying to propagate on exactly the best method for it. Generally, most propagations are going to have one thing in common that they all need, unless they're succulents or cacti, and that is humidity. Almost all plants out there need humidity in order to propagate and create their own roots. In order to make this higher humidity and have these plants that are going to thrive in that, you need to have some type of an enclosed vessel. Some people prefer to do it in greenhouses. Other plants are not so picky, or they'll use a specific potting medium. Today we are going to talk about making a propagation box, which is a layered enclosed box environment. You can also use some type of a jar or a fish tank or anything like that. Just something that you can enclose that has a clear top and clear sides for light to get in there. And that's how we're going to be propagating our plants today. So the materials you'll need to make a propagation box are some type of a clear container with a clear lid, and you will also need whatever propagation media you are planning to use. This can be some type of soil, it can be sphagnum moss, it can be perlite. Other people like to use vermiculite. It all depends on the specific type of plant that you are going to be using. Generally, the most common two are going to be perlite or sphagnum moss, and today we are going to be using perlite. When you are propagating plants, you want to ensure that your vessel is absolutely clean, because you don't want any fungal or bacterial issues while your plant is trying to grow new roots. They need to be putting all of their energy into growing new roots, not fighting off whatever nastiness is in there. So make sure you clean out your vessel. You can just clean it out with some rubbing alcohol, just rinse it out with some water, whatever you feel you have to do to make that vessel as clean as possible for it. After you have your vessel clean, you want to go ahead and add in that media. If it is sphagnum moss, it's generally recommended that you pre-moisten it and wring it out and then place it in the box. But if it's perlite, you can either sift it and then put it in, or you can just pour it in, whichever works best for you. Today, we're just pouring it in. When you are pouring your perlite in, be sure to not breathe the dust that's coming up. So wear some type of a mask or turn your face away, whatever is going to work best for you in your situation. It's never good to have rock dust in your face. Generally, you want to pour in about 1 inch of whatever media that you're putting in there, and that should give enough room for there to be a lot of humidity and enough media in there for whatever size plant you're working with. You may have to adjust depending on the size of the cuttings of the plant that you're working with. There are much larger tropical plants out there, like aroids. If you were to propagate a monstera leaf or whatnot, it may not fit in such a propagation box and it may need more than that. So it just depends. For right now, we are going to be doing smaller cuttings, and this works perfectly for our needs. After you get your media in your propagation box, then you need to create humidity, and you do that by creating moisture inside the media. So if it was sphagnum moss, then you had already pre-moistened it, wrung it out. That is good in there already. But with perlite, you have to actually add water in. So perlite is actually a porous rock, so it will soak up a little bit of that water, not a whole lot, not nearly as much as sphagnum moss could, but it will soak up a little bit of that water. So if you put 1 inch of perlite in, then you want to put in about 1/4 inch of water. You could do a little bit more or a little bit less. You just want to make sure that your plants are not going to be swimming in a perlite pool. And if you put in too much water, that's okay. You can either drain it out and what's left will be fine, or you can just leave the box open for a day or two and that'll evaporate quite a bit in there. So it just depends, whatever you're more comfortable with. After that, you get your propagations. There are a lot of different types of plants out there, and it just depends on the specific type of plant what propagation media is going to work best. So because we used perlite today, there are several different propagations that we could take. We can do some philodendron, we can do some peperomia, some pothos or epipremnum will actually be really good as well. Hoya are pretty happy in a perlite propagation box too, but whatever plant you're trying to propagate, you can go ahead and just make sure that a node is placed under the perlite in there. So the node is where the roots are going to come from. It's got that building blocks of life kind of tucked in there, so that's what you want to use when you're putting it in the perlite or whatever propagation media. Generally, all you have to do is just put it under the media in the propagation box. Then you can close it up, set it in some decent light or under a grow light, and just let it grow. Depending on the plant, you can have roots starting as soon as 3 days for up to a couple of weeks. It just depends on the particular type of plant. But plants really, really love propagation boxes, and it's one of those things that are fantastic because you can take these cuttings of plants, just put them in the box and just leave them there for long periods of time, come back to beautiful new growth. You do want to periodically check back, especially over the next few days after you make a propagation box, because you want to ensure that there isn't too much water in there, that nothing is rotting. If there was too much watering and you notice some of your plants start to rot, you can always remove that rot, take the healthy piece of the plant that's left and put it back in there and just leave that open a little bit. A lot of times aeration is going to help all of that rot go away too. Rot is not generally an issue with these propagation boxes, but if you are a beginner and you're just trying out a propagation box for the first time, there is probably going to be something that's just not going to go 100% the way that it should, and these are just solutions to some of those problems you may encounter. Propagation boxes can be one of the most rewarding methods of propagation because you get to open this box and see nothing but lush, beautiful green plants. It is literally a perfect environment for majority of houseplants. Majority of houseplants are tropical houseplants. So when you see all of these plants just thriving in there, it definitely is very encouraging. And then you get to take them and pot them up, and they are something that you have grown and you have created, and they're your own little baby plants, which just makes it even more special. So definitely highly recommend this method if you have not given it a chance. It's a very easy propagation method that everyone should do at least once. Don't forget to check out indoorgardening.com for more information. We are always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!